Hello, good people, and welcome back. So, in the last video, what we did is we talked about a few different strategies: bull spread using call, bear spread using put. We said you could also construct a bull spread using puts, and you could also construct a bear spread using calls. Um, and then we put together a bull spread using calls and a bear spread using put in order to construct essentially a box spread. So in this video, what I'm going to do is just continue and look at a couple of other strategies. But before we do that, we want to go back to the slides and we want to continue working on our slides. So we just looked at the bear spread and we've learned that the bear spread is a combination of a bull call spread, that's a bull spread using call, and a bear put spread, that's a bear spread using puts. If all the options are European, a box spread is worth the present value of the difference between the strike prices. And that's essentially what we said there when we said that the value of the box is equal to the strike price 2 minus strike price 1. And then we take the present value of that. That is what we have here. Now, if they are American, if these options are American options, this is not necessarily so. The value is not necessarily a present value of this, and that is because the option can be exercised before maturity. To know more about this, read this Business Snapshot 11.1 in your textbook. Okay, so we're going to start with our butterfly spread, and in order to look at the butterfly spread, I'm going to go back to the board, and we will be constructing a butterfly spread essentially in the board, and coming back to the slides to wrap this up, just like what we did in the earlier videos. So let's go back to our board here, and just like we have a bull call spread and a bull put spread, that is bull spread strategies using calls and puts, you could also have a butterfly spread strategy using calls or using puts. So what we're going to be using here, or working with here, is a butterfly spread, and we're going to be using call options to build that. Now our butterfly spread strategy is going to be made up of, that's going to be equal to 2 long call and 2 short calls. Now for the bull spread, we had one of each, one long, one short. For the bear spread, we had the same. In this case, for the butterfly, we're taking 2 of each. Now the trick here is that the long calls that we're going to take are going to have essentially 2 different strike prices. So we're going to take the first long. So the first, let me use a different color. The first long is going to have a strike price that we're going to call K1. That's going to be our first strike price. And the second long is going to have a strike price that we're going to call, in this case, K3. Now, the 2 short positions that we're going to take are going to have the same strike price. So the 2 shorts are both going to have a strike price that we're going to call K2. And the strike price K2 really is going to be equal to the mid-range between these 2 values. That's going to be K1 plus K2, K3 divided by 2. That is going to be our K2. So we are setting up a range within which we believe that the stock price is going to be trading. So within K1 and K3, and we're setting up a 2 positions in the short call at exactly the mid-range between these 2. Now the short calls also have to be at the money. Short calls. Now, if we were to draw this out, what would this look like? Well, we'd have our profit here, and we have our stock price here. Now, what is it called? The call payoff or call profit structure is typically, if it's a long call, we're gonna have to pay a premium. So we pay a premium all the way to K1. That was our first long call, and this is going to be K1. And then we're going to take another position in a call option as well. That's going to be a second long call at the strike price of K3. Let's say our second long call, it could be here with the strike price of K3, and that will be K3. So this is going to be our first long. That's going to be my first long. And this is going to be our second long position. Now we said we take the first long position at K1 and the second long position at K3. And we take two short positions in call option still at the strike price of K2. That's the middle between K1 and K3. So K2 is going to be somewhere in the middle here. And that has to be the strike price of our short call. Now, our short call profile looks like this. So our short call is going to be something like this all the way to K3. So somewhere, I'm going to draw that a little lower than that. So let's say short call goes here all the way to K3. So that's going to be K3 and then down. So this is going to be two short calls at K2, not K3, K2. And the second strike price here, or the strike price K2, is the midpoint between K1 and K3, right in the middle there. So what is the pay of this butterfly spread strategy? Well, again, the idea here is that we believe that the stock price is going to be within this range, right? Within this K1 and K3 range. We don't believe that the stock price is going to move too much, and we want to kind of take advantage of the stock price. Remember, this is always our stock price, and this is our profit. Now let's look at the profile for the overall thing. Remember, we have two long position at K1, one long position at K1, one long position at K3, and two short position at K2. So what do we have? Now in this case, let's go back here. In this case, we also have a scenario where now we don't just have two windows, we don't just have three windows, we have four windows, right? So let me split this first. So we're gonna have that first window that is between 0 and K1, and then we have the second window between K1 and K2. We have the third window between K2 and K3, and then we have the last window above K3. So let's do this. Let's set our stock price and our stock price can be between 0 and K1. That's the first one. So 0 to K1, first strike price. The second window is between K1 and K2. So K1 to K2. The third window between K2 and K3. So K2 to K3. And the last window is above K3. So that's going to be 3 and this is going to be 4. So K3 up. Now, we essentially now have four positions. Two long, two short. But then the two shorts are identical. So we can treat them as just one. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the first long at K1. And then we have another long position. Oh, let's just put the short positions here. So the short positions at K2. And then we have another long position at K3. And finally, we have a total. And so that's what we want to do. Now, For our long call at K1, what do we have? Well, the payoff here is going to be the maximum of its long call. So it's going to be stock price minus strike price and 0. That's our payoff. Now, if the strike price is K1 and the stock price is below the strike price, then the long call is not going to exercise the option. So the payoff is going to be equal to 0 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 0, 0 here. The second option is, well, long call, so we have maximum of ST minus K, that's K1 again here, and 0. In this case, its stock price is between K1 and K2, so it's definitely above K1, right? If it is above K1, that difference here is going to be positive. The long here is going to exercise the option. So the payoff here is going to be the stock price, ST minus K1. Now, if the stock price is between K1 and K2, it is definitely above the strike price of K1, so the payoff is going to be the same. Stock price minus K1. And if the stock price is above K3, same process, we're going to have stock price minus K1. So we are done with our first long call. Let's deal with the second long call as well, because that's easy to work with. For our second long call, so long as the stock price is below the strike price K3, we're not exercising the option. When the stock price is above K3, then we can exercise the option. So the long call here is going to be fairly easy. It's going to follow the similar pattern here. So if we are above the strike price, we exercise. If we're below the strike price, we do not exercise. In the first window here, we are below the strike price K3, so we're not going to exercise. So it's going to be 0 here. It's going to be 0 here. It's going to be 0 for the third one. And the last one is simply going to be stock price minus K3. Why is it stock price minus K3 here? It is that because the stock price is above K3, then we can exercise the option. How about the short calls? Well, for the short calls, this is what we're going to have. Well, our payoff is going to be the maximum of the stock price minus the strike price and 0. But because they are short, we're going to put negative. But then remember that we have two short calls. So these are two short calls. So what we're going to do is going to multiply whatever we get by 2. Now, our strike price is at K2. At K2, right, the short call is the long call here is not going to be exercising. So if you held a long call, if you were long this call at the strike price of K2, you would not be exercising because the stock price is below K2 when we are here. So you will not be exercising, so the payoff here is going to be equal to 0. Now, 0 multiplied by 2, that's still 0, so that doesn't matter. The same applies for the window that's between K1 and K2. Between K1 and K2, stock price is still less than K2, so the long is not going to exercise, which means that the payoff is going to be equal to 0. The same here, so that's going to be 0 here as well. Now, between K2 and K3, what is going to be the payoff in this case? Well, between K2 and K3, the payoff of our short call is going to be the following. Well, it's going to be the maximum of the stock price minus the strike price, which is K2, and 0. And we're going to take 2 times that value. And we multiply that by minus 1 because we're short, right? So the maximum of stock minus strike price is for a long, and we can put the minus because we are short. And we multiply by 2 because we have 2 short contracts. And so in this case, when the stock price is above K2, the long is going to exercise, which means that this value is going to be positive. So that value is positive. The maximum of this value, positive value and 0, is going to be stock price minus K2. And therefore, we're going to multiply that by minus 2. So our outcome is going to be equal to minus 2, the payoff of the long, which is stock price minus K2. And we do the same for when the stock price is above K3, it is definitely, if it is above K3, it is above K2. So the outcome is going to be the same as earlier. So it's going to be minus 2 times the stock price minus K2. Now, so what is the total? Well, the total here for the first outcome is always going to be equal to 0 because that's the sum of these three positions. For the second outcome, we're going to have stock price minus the first strike price on the long call. And the third outcome here, what we're going to have is essentially going to be equal to the sum of this. So that's going to be stock price minus strike price 1 and 2 times stock price minus strike price 2. So this is essentially going to be equal to, I'm going to pull this up, it's going to be stock price minus K1, which is, and we're working with the third scenario here. So we're going to have this value, stock price minus strike price, and then 2 times that in this value. So minus 2 times the stock price plus 2 times K2. Now let's simplify this. If we simplify that, what do we have? We have the following. Stock price, let's do this, 2 times K2, that's that value, minus K1, this is that value, and then we have 1 stock price and the minus 2 stock price, so minus the stock price that we have here. Now, what is the difference between 2 times K1, K2 and K1? Well, you remember that early on we said that K2 was equal to K1 plus K3 divided by 2. That's what we had. And so in this case, what do we have? K2 is equal to strike price 1 plus strike price 3 divided by 2. What that means is that 2 times strike price 2 is equal to strike price 1 plus strike price 3, which means that 2 times strike price 2 minus strike price 1 is equal to strike price 3. So this is what we're going to use here, and we're going to come back here and say, well, we have 2 times strike price 2 and strike price 1. That's exactly 2 times strike price 2 and strike price 1, so that's strike price 3. So this is going to be equal to K3 minus stock price. And so we can write here that this is equal to strike price 3 minus the stock price. And in this case, this is what we're going to have. The last scenario is going to be, and that is this last scenario, what we're going to have is stock price minus strike price 1. In this case, we're going to have minus 2 times the stock price minus or plus 2 times strike price 2. And then what we want to do is we want to add back this stock price minus strike price 3 that we have here, because this is the only time we have an outcome on the long call with the strike price 3. So it's going to be plus stock price minus K3. Alright, so let's simplify this. Our simplification is going to start with the following. Stock price here plus stock price, that's 2 times stock price, minus 2 stock price, so these all cancel each other. Okay, now what do we have? We have 2 times strike price 2, which is that, minus strike price 1, which is that, minus strike price 3, which is that. We just learned that 2 times strike price 2 minus strike price 1 is equal to strike price 3. So 2 times strike price 2 minus strike price 1, that is strike price 3, minus strike price 3, so that's equal to 0. Our outcome here is therefore equal to 0. So for our butterfly spread strategy using call, this is what we are working with, butterfly spread using calls. Our payoff is essentially going to be equal to 0 stock minus the strike price on the first long call, and the strike price on the second long call minus the stock price, and 0 otherwise as well. Now, if we account for the premium that we pay for the long calls and for the premium that we receive for the short calls, we can essentially compute replicate what that graph that we had, that profit profile looks like. Now let's work with an example here, and the example that we're going to use is a scenario where we have a long call at the strike price K1. We're going to say that strike price K1 is going to be equal to $55. We're going to have a second long call at the strike price of K3. I'm going to say that K3 is going to be equal to $65. I'm going to say that the premium that we pay for the first long call, let's call that P, or call 1, let's call that call 1, is going to be equal to $10. That is, we pay $10 for this call, and we pay $5 for the second call. So the call 2 is going to be equal to $5. Now, we purchase these two calls, and then we write two, so we take two short calls at a strike price K2. Now K2 is going to be equal to K1 plus K3 divided by 2, so that's going to be equal to 65 plus 55 divided by 2. And 65 plus 55 divided by 2, that's essentially 120 divided by 2, so that's going to be 60. So our strike price 2 is going to be equal to 60, and let's say that it cost us call 3. Let's call this call 3 just to match the strike price here. So it's call 3, we call this call 2. And we're going to have a call premium of $7 that we're receiving. Now, what would be the outcome of our butterfly spread? So our payoff, we're going to have four windows. Remember, our 4 windows are 0 to K1, 0 to the first strike price, K1 is 55, and then we have 55 to the middle one, which is 60, and then we have 60 to 65, and then we have 65 and above. And so our payoff is going to be, for all 3 scenarios, 0 for the first one, stock price minus strike price 1, strike price 3 minus stock price, and 0. So this is what we're going to have. Payoff is going to be equal to 0, and then we're going to have strike price minus stock price minus strike price 1. So that's going to be stock price ST minus the first strike price, which is 55. The second outcome is going to be strike price 3 minus stock price. So it's going to be strike price 3, that is in this case 65 minus the stock price, this ST, and then the last one is going to be equal to 0. So in this case, what do we have for profit? Well, the profit is going to be the following. We have 2 calls, long call. So the long call cost, first long call cost us $10, so we spent $10. The second long call cost us $5, so we spent another $5, which is a total of minus $15. And then we sold 2 calls at $7 each, so 2 times 7, which is 14. So we essentially have a net outflow of $1. Long call means you're paying $10 for the call. Long call means you're paying $5 for the call, so that's going to be minus 15, that's out. And then 2 short calls means you sold 2 calls at $7 each, so that's going to be plus 14, that is minus 1. And so our payoff, our profit is going to be our payoff minus 1 essentially. So for the first scenario, we're going to be at 0 minus 1, which is equal to minus 1. In this case, what we're going to have is the stock price minus 55 minus 1, which is going to be stock price minus 56. And the last, the third one is going to be 65 minus the stock price minus 1, which is essentially going to be 64 minus the stock price. And the last outcome is going to be equal to 0. That's what we have here. So what this also means is that we can break even essentially twice. The first time we would break even is here, where the stock price is equal to 56, which means that profit is equal to 0. That's profit. And the second option is when the stock price is equal to 64, our profit is also equal to 0. So we can break even twice. What is that going to make our butterfly spread profit look like, or profile look like? We're going to have the following. This is our profit, and that would be our stock price. And we're going to have the strike price. So the first strike price is going to be 55. Second strike price at 60. Third strike price at 65. Now, we also know that between 0 and 55, we're always going to lose $1. So that's going to be minus 1. We're always going to be here minus 1. And I've not done the last one here. For the last one, we would be 0 minus 1. So minus 1 here. So it's also going to be minus 1. Right? This last scenario, 0 minus 1 here. For this last scenario, we have minus 1 as well. So it's going to be minus 1 here. Is going to be that. Now, what happens in the middle here, we said that we can have two break-even points, right? The first break-even point is at 56. So 55, 56, let's say it's about here. So we're going to break even. And the second option, a break-even is right at 64. So 64 will be about here. So we're going to be increasing here all the way. And we're also going to be increasing here all the way. So our profile essentially is going to look something like this. Where this is going to be 64 and that is going to be 56. And this is our profit. This is our stock price. And that is our butterfly spread. So if we go back to the slide, and we would see exactly what our butterfly spread looks like using call. And what we have is the minus 1 that we had here, and then the minus 1 that we have above the 65. So that would be our 65. That would be our 55. This would be the 60. And we have this peak here. That's why we refer to this as a butterfly. I guess it's because it looks like a butterfly here. So this is our butterfly spread using calls. And so what do we do with the butterfly spread using call? We have two call options, long, and then a different strike price, and then two short call options at the same strike price. Now, the strike price of the short option calls is always going to be equal to the middle point between the strike price of the two long position that we're taking. And by doing that, we're essentially limiting, we're essentially implying that we believe that the stock price is going to be confined within that range, cannot move too far around, and so it's going to be confined within the range of strike price 1 and strike price 3. And so this is the outcome that we would obtain. Now, as usual, when we play with the bull spread, we use bull spread using calls. We use bear spread using put. Here we're using butterfly spread using call. I'm going to leave butterfly spread using puts up to you to construct it. But the procedure is the same. Just remember what the payoff look like when you're constructing this table that we have here. If you're working with this with the put options, just remember that the put options has a payoff that's equal to the strike price minus stock price. That's for long put, and the short put is therefore going to be equal to minus the maximum of the strike price minus the stock price. All right, so we're done with the butterfly spread using calls. What we're going to do next is touch on another type of strategy that we can look at, and that's going to be the calendar spread. So this here is the butterfly spread using calls. We can construct another butterfly spread using put, and the profile is the same. Next, what we're going to touch on is the calendar spread. Okay, so with the spreads so far that we've looked at, bull spread, bear spread, butterfly spread, what we refer to the spread for the earlier strategies essentially refer to a difference in strike price. With the calendar spread, the spread here refers to a difference in expiration. So the difference between the two options that we're using here, and again here we're using call, so we're using two call options. The difference with the two call options is that the first call, the long call, is going to have a strike price K with a maturity T1, and the short call is going to have a strike price K, so the same strike price, but then a maturity T2. So the difference between the two options is a difference in maturity. And so essentially the idea with the a calendar spread is that you're expecting a large swing in prices, and therefore you're tapping over a period of time. So you're tapping on the difference between the price of the calls for the long term or the short term. You can construct the calendar spread with put options as well, and the profile is the same. Now, why is this not linear? Remember what we had earlier for the long call, we would normally have something like that is straight ahead, but here we have a curve, and that difference is due to the difference in time here. And when we talk about Black-Scholes a little later, you will see that the call value is not a linear function of time, which is what creates a curvature in the payoff or the profit for this calendar spread strategy that we're looking at. All right, so we looked at calendar spread using calls, calendar spread using put, same idea, long put here, short put, and what we have is same strike price, two different maturities for the options. Now the straddle is going to be a strategy that combines two different type of options. So in this case, we're going to have with the same strike price, same maturity. So in this case, we're going to have a long call. By now you're familiar with all these profiles, so that's going to be a long call, and we're going to have a long put. So long call, long put essentially is what creates a straddle. Early on, when we were working with the spreads, we always looked at the difference in options of the same class, right? Two calls, one calls, two calls, one long, one short, and so on and so forth, or two puts, one long, one short. In this case, we are looking at one call, one put, and then they both we both take the same position in the two, so there's going to be long call and long put. Now, the idea with this straddle is that you're expecting a large price change, but you just don't know in which direction it is that it's going to go, right? So if it is the stock price is increasing largely, then you are exercising your call option. If the stock price is decreasing sharply, then you're exercising your put option. That's essentially the idea. It's a straddle, and the combination of two forms a straddle. At the same strike price in same expiration. You can easily construct the payoff for a straddle, and if you wanted to construct the payoff of the straddle, remember here we would only have two windows. So you would have the first window maybe we could do that quickly here. You would have the first window, that's this period here, and you'll have the second window. So the stock price, your stock price here can either be between 0 and K or between K and above. And for our long call, and we're gonna have the put option here, and we're gonna have the total. Now on our long call option, if the stock price is below the strike price, you don't exercise. If it is above, you exercise. So it's going to be 0 here, and it's going to be a stock price minus the strike price there. And for the put option, oh, for when you, yes, that's what we have. When for the put option, if the stock price is below, we exercise, and when we exercise, the payoff is going to be K minus the stock price. And when the stock price is above the strike price, we do not exercise, so that's 0. So our payoff is overall going to be equal to the strike price minus the stock price. That is the sum of these two. That is that value here, and it's going to be equal to the stock price minus the strike price. And so that is up the profit structure. And then again, for the long call, you're taking a long position in the call and in the put. So you're going to subtract the sum of the premium that you pay for this on this payoff in order to obtain your profit, right? So your profit would be strike price minus stock price minus whatever you pay for the call minus whatever you pay for the put. And that would be your profit. And for the opposite position, you would have the stock price minus the strike price minus whatever you pay for the call minus whatever you pay for the put. And the first scenario would be in the event that the stock is between 0 and the strike price. And the second scenario would be for the scenario where we have a stock price that's above the strike price. And that would be our profit. And this would be our payoff for the straddle. Okay, now we can also have strips and straps, and these are nothing else but straddles. The difference between the two, remember a straddle is two different options, right? So the long call, long put, that's what we looked at as a straddle. And they have the same strike price, same maturity. Now with strips and straps, the idea here is that you have a better idea the direction in which the stock price is going to move. So for the strip, which is what we have here, you're essentially taking one long position in the call, so it's going to be one call, but then you're taking two positions in put, so that's going to be two put. For the typical straddle, what we have is one call and one put. That is our classic straddle. Same strike price, same maturity. For the strip, we are doing something very similar. However, because we believe that stock price is going to fall, we're taking 2 times the position in puts, then we're taking the position in the call. That's our anticipation, and that's our strip. For the strap strategy, what we have is the opposite of the strip, where we believe that stock prices are going to be increasing. So you can guess, what do we do? 2 calls, there we go, plus 1 put. And so same as the same idea with the straddle, except for the fact that you double the number of call contracts because you believe that stock prices are going to be increasing. So you double the number of calls and you maintain the put at 1. That would be your strap. So strip and strap are identical, are very similar to the straddle, except for the fact that you have a pretty good idea of, or pretty good estimation of where you believe that the stock price is going to go, and therefore you take a position in the call if you believe that you double your position in the call if you believe that the stock price is going to be increasing. That is the strap. And you double your position in the put if you believe that stock price is going to be decreasing. That's the strip. And finally, we're going to talk about the strangle strategy. Now, the idea with the strangle is very similar to what we have with the straddle. So this is a triangle. You remember what we had with the straddle? What we had was the following. We essentially had for the straddle we had long call, long put, but they both had the same strike. Now our long call looks something like this. So this is going to be our long call with the strike price, and that will be our strike price K, our long call, and our long put would essentially have the same pattern and the same strike price. So our long put, which would say look something like this and like that, that would be our long put, and the strike price of the put is going to be the same. So let's call that the strike price here. This is going to be long put, and this is going to be our long call. And this strategy is a straddle, and the payoff for this strategy, the profit for this strategy looks something like this. So it was a peak here and up. That was our straddle. For the triangle, we're going to have a long call still with a higher strike, and then we're going to have a long put with a lower strike. The idea here is that we're not going to have the peak that we had with the straddle. We rather going to have a flat zone there where our profit is going to be flat over a period of time or over a window that is between the strike price of the put and the strike price of the call. So the structure is exactly the same. If you wanted to find the payoff for this, the profit for this using the table, you would essentially have three windows. You have the first window where you would find the payoff for the call, the long call and the long put, the second window, and the third window. And for each one of the windows, you would essentially find the total payoff. And then you will subtract the premium that you pay for the long call and the premium that you pay for the long put, and you would find your profit structure. When you graph now your profit structure, you would obtain the following profit curve. All right, so that is our triangle, and remember the triangle is very similar to the straddle. The straddle uses two options: long call, long put, same strike price, same maturity. That is a straddle. The triangle, which is what we have here, uses two options: long call, long put. But then the difference between the triangle and the straddle is that the triangle uses two different strike price. The long call has a higher strike price, and the long put has a lower strike price on the this triangle. All right. So finally, we have a variety of order pair of pattern that we could look at. When the strike prices are close together, a butterfly spread provides a payoff consisting of a small spike. That is, when you remember what our butterfly spread looked like. A butterfly spread had a payoff that looks something like this. So if the strike price of course are close to each other, the spike here is going to be small. So we had the strike prices. That's going to be K1, K2, and K3. This is going to be first long call, second long call, and then here we're going to have the short ones. And so the peak here is going to be smaller spike. If options with all strike prices were available, any payoff pattern could at least approximately be created by a combination of spikes obtained from different butterfly spread. So you could essentially build several, depending on availability of option strike price and maturities, you could build a multitude of combinations of calls or combinations of calls and puts that would lead to a variety of other payoffs. So the idea at the end of the day is that the strategies that we've looked at, which are, if we want to summarize them all, we looked at the simple strategies where we only use options. So long call, short call, long put, short put. We also looked at the strategies where we combine options and bonds. Those are our protected notes, principal protected notes. and we looked at strategies where we use one class of option, say 2 calls or 2 puts, and we looked at those. I refer to those as spread. So we had the bull spread using calls, we had the bull spread using put, we had the bear spread using call, we had the bear spread using put, and we created a box spread, which was a combination of a bull spread using call and a bear spread using put. And following that, what we also were able to construct after the box spread was the butterfly spread. And our butterfly spread was a combination using calls input, of course, was a combination of call options. So for our butterfly spread using calls, we used 2 calls, long calls, and 2 short calls. The short calls had the strike price that was right in the middle, and the strike price of our short call was the midpoint between the strike price of our 2 long calls. That was our butterfly spread using calls. We had butterfly spread using puts. We talked about calendar spread, and the difference between calendar spread and butterfly spread is this idea that we're using options with different maturities, not strike price, but different maturities with the same strike price. And we talked about straddles, which is what we just looked at. And for the straddles, we're taking 1 long call and 1 long put, the same strike price. And with the strangle, we're taking 1 long call with a higher strike price and 1 long put with a lower strike price. Now, in between, we have what we refer to as strips and straps. And the strips are the scenarios where we're essentially constructing a straddle, but we are doubling the size of, for a strip, we're doubling the size of the put. For the strap, we're doubling the size of the call. All right, so I know this is a lot, so take your time and walk through each one of these strategies and try to replicate the payoff that we've described both on the slides here and on our board on the other side there. So what we're going to do next is jump onto the next unit, because this concludes this unit, and in the next video we're going to jump start the next unit. I will see you in the next video.